Hello RSJ. Today I have an overview of a cinema line camera, the Sony FX30. This camera is reserved for students in upper-level film production classes. The cinema kit includes 4 lenses, a monitor, a microphone attachment and a microphone, and a pocket follow focus, which I will show you how to set up after our overview of the camera. If you are using this camera, you should already be understanding shutter, ISO, exposure, and basic camera settings. That being said, I'm going to jump straight into showing you the key features of this camera. Here we have a very straightforward exterior display. As you can see, there are options for peaking, zebra, shutter, display, focus magnification, quick menu, mode, and regular menu. When using the Sony FX30, you are going to be spending a lot of time within the menu. Here is a rundown of our most important aspects. Right now, Main 1 is basically a more in-depth quick menu. This can be totally customized to your liking. Here you can adjust frame rate, shutter, ISO, focus, exposure, and more. Next, I am going into our shooting menu. Understanding the options here is crucial to shooting successfully. Here we can select our file format, frame rate, and record settings, and log shoot settings. If you have never shot an S-Log, I'm going to give you a brief rundown soon on what this means and what this consists of, as well as a rundown on Sony's own mode, eCine. I highly recommend doing some more research on these shoot settings though, as they can produce extremely high-quality professional results, but require a thorough understanding of ISO and exposure. For now, let's move on. In shoot settings, we can also adjust our exposure mode, shutter settings, and audio recording settings. There are also settings for timecodes. Again, if you are not familiar with timecode usage, I recommend doing a little background research. We also have our steady shot settings, which is Sony's version of in-camera stabilization. There is a whole menu for exposure and color settings. This is extremely useful for setting base ISO as well as your ISO range. Base ISO and exposure index will change with respect to your shoot mode. When shooting in Cine EI, you have the option of base ISO 800 or base ISO 2500. Let's jump into a more in-depth explanation of S-Log 3 and Cine EI. First, I am going to show shooting with no log shoot setting. We have full range over our shutter, ISO, white balance, and f-stop. Here's where it could be helpful to set your minimum and maximum ISO just to make sure you are not overexposing your shot. Flexible ISO gives you full control to manually set the ISO sensitivity, aperture, and shutter speed, or use auto exposure modes. This can be particularly useful when shooting in S-Log 3 because you have more control over the scene's brightness. You can still set a minimum and maximum ISO with the setting on. Cine EI Quick shoots in Cine EI mode, but lets you quickly adjust the exposure index using the rear thumb dial, or whichever button you program this setting for. I'm going to breeze past this and get to Cine EI mode, because I would recommend you using this over the quick mode. Cine EI means Cinema Exposure Index. This mode basically gives us 2 base ISOs to choose from, ISO 800 and ISO 2500. You can see as I am adjusting, there is no longer an ISO setting. Now we have a setting for EI/E/L. All this is telling you is which ISO setting you have selected. 800 EI means 800 exposure index. 6.0 E is the number of stops of dynamic range in the highlights, and the L stands for low base. Cine EI produces fantastic cinema line quality videos, but can be extremely daunting at first. As I mentioned, I recommend doing further research to gain a strong understanding of both Cine EI and S-Log. Now you have a brief overview of how to get started with the Sony FX30. I now want to show you how to set up the pocket follow focus. This is a helpful tool to assist with rack focuses, following a subject, and more. Start by taking the Allen wrench and removing one of the plates. Now, put the bar through the mounts and tighten them into place. Take the included screw and put it into the plate we left attached. You might notice that this looks similar to a tripod plate. This is exactly what it's used for. With that screw in place, I can attach my camera to the rig. Now that I've attached the camera, I am sliding the follow focus onto the bar. This can be moved to either side depending on if you use your right or left hand. We are going to tighten this into place. The grooves of the follow focus should move in place with the grooves of the camera's focus ring. As you can see, when I spin the follow focus, the ring moves with it. These two metal screws can be adjusted based on how far you want the ring to turn. This can be extremely helpful for already blocked tracking shots or a rack focus. The red lock can also be unlocked so that the ring can move back and forth without hitting the screws. Now, this can be used handheld, but I can also attach the rig to my tripod. I am simply screwing the tripod plate into the bottom of the rig. Now, the rig is secure on the tripod. We can't wait to see what you create with the Sony FX30.